yourself. I'm gonna make my way over here to the right. Look at this. I just pretty much finished up this side. Look at the difference. Hold on. We demonstrated what? Using all the principal tools of the trade, right? Right here. At the bottom is for it, okay? I'm gonna just make a quick little indentation right there. Alright? Cook organisms that are harmful to your clients and yourself. I'm gonna make my way over here to the right. Look at this. I just pretty much finished up this side. Look at the difference. Hold on. We demonstrated what? Using all the principal tools of the trade, right? Right here. At the bottom is for it, okay? I'm gonna just make a quick little indentation right there. Alright?
Shalom. First and foremost, all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who still rule and teach well. And you see the IUIC here promoting, Black American culture, but really this whole barbershop culture, lining yourself up, that goes back to ancient Egypt as well as Greece. This is heathenistic. The Bible commands us, and we here at Great Millstone, we don't go to the barbershop and get lineups because it's not part of our culture. It's not a part of our heritage. All right, now I understand. I guess he's trying to teach young men, a trade. Well, why not pick a different one? And what does this have to do with the ministry of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, which is the ministry of prophets? Our bread and butter is the scriptures, the prophecies, and I'm going to show you that this goes back to ancient Egypt. But first, let me read. The Lord commanded us not to do it. Now, the scriptures say they have the zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. It said, for they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves to the righteousness of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So we're not here to establish our own righteousness and do what we feel is righteous. We have to continue to do what the scriptures say, even if it may make you look like an eyeball because you don't get lineups, And people try to mock and say, oh, he doesn't groom himself. And the word groom means to clean. We're very well groomed. We're very clean. But because we don't have lineups, now we're bums. Now we're dirty. Now we're, ugly or whatever. But we ain't here to worry about the opinion of the world. We're not going to establish our own righteousness. We're going to do what the Bible says. Leviticus 21, verse 5, to the best of our ability. Leviticus 21, verse 5, it says, they shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. And it's known that when you get a lineup, it does cut your flesh. That's why the barber, he'll rub your line with alcohol once you're done. And you feel that stinging sensation because your flesh, your skin has been broken. Okay, and on top of that, a lot of times when you do it, you corner in your beards with the line. Now, don't get me wrong, you could trim your beard down, but you definitely don't want to line it up. So now, this is the history here. Now, this article is from Eddie'sHaircutShave.com. It says the ancient roots, Egypt, Greece, and the shop as a social space. And that's what Jake likes to exalt. IUIC, they've done a lot of their street teachings. They'll pop up at a barbershop because historically these shops were social spaces, where people would talk about politics and, different, entertainment and different things. So Jake is like trying to, which we ain't going to run into that same excess of riot. Matter of fact, I'll read that because, the lineup thing, people really look at you crazy when you tell them you don't get lineups so you don't go to the barbershop. As if that's a mandatory thing to be alive. You have to get lineups. Like, come on now. And what does that have to do with anything? 1 Peter 4:3, for the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries. wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. Right. You know, going to the barbershop every Saturday to talk about the Browns or talk about the Cavs or, you know, have your Kobe and LeBron debates. You know, we're not into that no more. You know, and you know, who the Lord wants, he's going to lead out to the highways and byways. We don't have to go fishing in a barbershop, man. And you're not even wanted. They ended up getting kicked out a bunch of times, you know, because you're not wanted. That vibration, the vibration of the truth is not gonna be welcome in an environment like that, because you're not going about it according to the will of Yahweh Shemel Shah, who said to go out to the highways and hedges. He said, man's goings are the Lord. He said, a man's heart's devised of his way, but the Lord directs his steps. So let me get into the history and then I'll close. It says the medical chapter is the most dramatic part of the history, but the trade itself is much older. Barbers appear in ancient Egypt records as early as 5000 BCE. They shaved priests every 3 days as a religious requirement. You see, that's why the Lord said that the Israelites, the children of Israel and the Egyptians are two manner of people, you know, with two different people, because their priests shave their head every 3 days. Our priests are not allowed to shave. It says they shaved priests every 3 days as a requirement, kept the wealthy clean shaven as a sign of status. You see? So when you got the line up, you got status. You're not a bum. You know, when you got the fresh cut, you know, now you're all of a sudden, now you're confident. You know, it says they kept the clean shaven as a sign of status and were sometimes buried with the tools of the craft. The earliest surviving razors are bronze blades from the Middle Egypt kingdom. By the time the trade reached ancient Greece, which we had Israelites there in Greece as well, being what? Being called Greeks, following the ways and the customs of the Greeks. Okay, just like our people are following the ways and the customs of America. Because if you fast forward 500 years into the future and there's an article like this about America, it's going to have the same type of rhetoric when it's speaking on the history of barbering and how so-called Black American culture introduced, you know, the sharp razors and the fancy hairstyles, and it was a big part of hip hop and all of that. You see, but it's not a part of Israelite culture. It says by the time the trade reached ancient Greece around the 5th century BCE, beards were back in fashion, and a new specialization had emerged: the barber as a beard shaper. You see, so some people call them line ups, some people call them edge ups, some people call them what? Shape ups. So that beard shaper of lining up the beard and shaping it a certain way, that goes back to ancient Greece. It says Athenian philosophers competed in the excellence of their beards. The first true barbershop opened in Greece around the same period, and they functioned the way ours still does. A place where men gathered to talk, to argue politics, to catch up on the news, to wait their turn while someone else's hair was being cut. The shop has been a social headquarters from the day the first one opened. The Greek love affair with beards ended abruptly when Alexander the Great ordered his troops clean-shaven before invading Asia. Persian soldiers had been grabbing Macedonians by the beard, pulling them down, and finishing them with the spear. The beard suddenly was a tactical liability. The civilian population followed the military, and the clean-shaven look became the standard for the next several centuries. Barbers predictably did fine through the transition. So the history is there. The Lord said that we put off the old man and become a new creature. Not according to the course of this world, but according to the will of Yahweh Shem Shai. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Hamashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. So no longer are we going to follow the ways of ancient Egypt. Let me see if I can find this precept. Yeah, Leviticus 18, verse 3. Verse 1. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasha'Allah, and say unto them, I am Yahweh Bashem Yahushua your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan whither I bring you shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. So you're not supposed to follow the ways of the ancient Egyptians. The Lord brought us out of there not so that we can continue to follow the works of the heathen and these different customs of the heathen. Remember, our people, yeah, you found that you're a Hebrew Israelite, but there's a lot of things that you do as far as customs that are not Israelite customs, okay? And a lot of these Hebrew Israelite camps is not going to identify certain things. Psalms 106 and verse 34, they did not destroy the nations concerning whom Yahweh Shem Yahushai commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. So again, our people, you've learned the works of American society, IUIC here, and you're promoting it. You've learned the works of American society, and it's time to put them off. You know, I don't know how many times the elders and apostles have rebuked you by saying, you know, we don't get lineups, man. It's not a part of Israelite custom. But, you know, obviously, I guess the right side of his head, they believe the right side of his head looks better than the natural line that the Lord gave him. So, Lord, this is edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Kom Yasharallah, Shalom.